Tell you what, gang, this is driving me round the bend. Hi, everybody. I'm Russ Kane. What's left of him, apparently. And this is Men's Radio Station. This is The Daily Show. I don't know why I'm smiling, because I feel not good. This is just... I got nothing else to say about it. It's rubbish. Okay. You know him. You kind of love him. I'm ambivalent. Neil Long.
Ambivalent? Is that all I get? Ambivalence?
Well, you get we love you because you're the greatest that ever lived. Here we go. This is Robert Van Buren. Hello, Russ. And just to balance things up, hello, Neil.
Hello, Robert Van Buren.
I got to tell you something. I can only apologize for the weather today. I can only apologize for the shitty weather. Do you know why?
Why?
Ask me why. Because yesterday to try garden, I can't turn on the garden hose. It's impossible. It's impossible for me. So using a huge watering can, which I could only fill halfway each time because of the weight on my damaged right wrist, I watered every single pot plant, which took well over an hour. And today it's pouring. Oh, man.
Can I start with a rant?
I would like you. We've got people standing by, but I want to hear a rant. I love it when you rant. Rant away, baby.
Right. So I drove in London the other day.
Yep, right.
And I paid my
15 quid
congestion charge.
Yep.
And I paid my ULEZ charge.
Yep. Right. What are you driving? A Lamborghini 1968? Why? For what?
Because I would presume you pay for a 24-hour period. So I drove in at 6 o'clock Saturday night, drove out at 1:30 Sunday morning, and they caught me in the 1:30 bit.
It's a stinking stealth tax. That's all it is. It's a stealth tax, and that's all it's got.
I'm not having it. I paid my dues.
Yeah.
I'm not having it. Going to contest that.
Well,
and later on, ask me what this is.
What? Let me see. I didn't see what you were showing me. What were you showing me?
This. Ask me what this is.
It's your secret stash of drugs.
It is not. It is not. Oh. That's behind the fireplace.
Okay, fair enough.
And a lady that you had on very quickly, Lynette Pryke. Do you remember Neighbour of the Year?
I do, Linny. Yep.
Doing a massive fundraiser for her on Sunday. So, with your permission, I'd like to give that a little.
Go ahead, boy.
Because we're going to have your branding all over it as well.
I love you. You're the greatest. Should we go to a quick guest and then we can rant on? Because they're wandering around. They're wandering. I can see them wandering. Hello, Stu.
Hey, how you doing?
How are we doing, fella? I'm good. How are you? Where are you?
So we are in Gloucester Town Centre, stopping for a coffee.
Right, good. What are you going to have? We're very nosy here. You're going to have like an espresso macchiato. What are you going to have?
Oh, absolutely. No, we just go for the plain black Americano as strong as we can.
Okay, liking it. It's a kind of butch attitude, which goes with your whole demeanour, if I may say so. And I think now, Stu, you're doing something fantastic. Tell us all about it.
Yeah, so last Saturday we set off from Exeter, called Pedal the Premiership. So we've cycled to every Premiership rugby team over 7 days. That's 7th day today. Wow. So we have, I think, 35 miles left. We've done.
Were you just bored, or are you raising money?
Yeah. So the story is that I've been, I suppose, recently diagnosed with bipolar.
Gosh.
And I've lived with mental illness probably the majority of my adult life, and rugby was my outlet. So
playing or watching?
Playing. So I played from the early age of.
What position were you?
Scrum half.
I was left prop. I was crap. I was so rubbish. Left prop, awful. I was the worst. I was the worst. Yeah. Yeah.
So when I retired from rugby, my mental health sort of hit rock bottom, and unfortunately I was taken off a bridge by police, trying to end my own life about 5 years ago.
What?
So then from there, it's sort of rebuilding myself, learning about myself, but then trying to do as much advocacy work as we can to get blokes to talk, really.
Stu, how brave are you feeling today? Serious question, because I don't want to be intrusive, but your story goes to the heart of what we do here.
Yeah,
Do
it's.
you mind if I'm a little unsubtle?
No, that's the way the conversation needs to be.
All right,
Russ.
fella.
It's
So there you are. You're standing on a bridge. Could it get seriously? And I mean, Longy, could it get any worse than that? This guy's
No, I
standing
don't
on
think
a
so.
freaking
No,
bridge.
No, I hate
no, I
hearing
don't.
stories like this. But I'm glad you're still here, Stu.
Thank
for what
God
it's
you're
worth.
here.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah,
Please
definitely.
share. Because
Yeah,
your
definitely.
testament helps. It helps so many people, if only in the sense they know they're not alone. Because the nature of any mental health condition, this is from personal experience, it feels so bloody isolating. And so just you coming on here and speaking out is helping more people than you know. So please go ahead.
Bless you, Stu, for doing that. Bless you. Let's, other radio stations and certainly TV stations won't do this because they give everybody 3 minutes. Let's talk about mental health. Oh, and now here's Neil Long with floaty summer fashions. I mean, that's how it all works. We know that. What had led you, Stu, to eventually standing on a bridge? Wowzer.
It was a number of things, really. I didn't look after myself, so I was drinking far too much. My self-employed business was on the rocks. I was going through divorce. I wasn't working out. I wasn't sleeping right, and you just get into that vicious circle.
Yeah.
And it was just an argument. Yeah, it was just an argument with the ex-wife that I had. We were splitting up, but we still live in the same house, so it was quite tough. And we had an argument. I just walked out for a pint, and those pints ended up being a pub crawl. And then something clicked. For my adult life, I've had suicide ideations with my mental illness.
Say that again.
Suicide ideation. So, like, I think of it, but then you dismiss it. But something clicked that night, and I walked to. It seems quite funny now, but I used to mark bridges out of 10. So the 10 out of 10 bridges were the best ones to jump off.
Oh my God!
So something clicked that night, and I walked to me 10 out of 10, which I think was my saviour because
which one?
My saviour was 2.5 miles away. So by the time I got there, I think I'd calmed down a little bit.
Or you were just knackered. I thought, I can't be asked.
yeah, I couldn't get my leg over.
Kill myself, and now I'm so tired. I'm going to go home and have a sleep.
Well, we all suffer from that problem, Stu.
Yeah. So then,
Stu, did you stand? The reason I ask is, did you physically stand on the bridge and think, this is it, I'm going to go?
Yeah, it's the way I remember it is as a third person, so I'm looking down on that experience rather than through a first person. So I took everything out of my pockets, and lined them up on the railings, and then I was working out, wondered how far it would take me to drop and how fast the lorry would get to me. Yeah, it just.
So was this over a motorway or something? Or over
it was over the M5. Yeah.
Oh, goodness me.
Right. I thought
what
it was like
stopped you, or how were you stopped?
Yeah.
Policeman. A big 6-foot hand went on my shoulder. So then there was a bit of a scuffle.
Scuffled. He didn't try to do the Dirty Harry and talk you down. He just
he grabbed. I think he took the opportunity to be able to grab hold of my collar.
I'm glad he did.
Then I turned around. We had a fight, and then I was in the hospital, and then I went to a acute unit for 7 days, which probably were the best 7 days that could have ever happened to me, really.
Wow.
And they treated you. Was this an aspect of your bipolar, the suicidal ideation?
I've never been diagnosed with it. It's always ever been because I've worked in this arena, sort of mental health, and done like public speaking and stuff. I've done the tests and stuff, and but I don't need the diagnosis. I don't need to be named bipolar. It's not my identity. I just know that some days I'm manic and some days I'm not, and some days I'm down. So it's just managing my life with it as such, I suppose.
Stu, help me out here, Stu. We've had lots of guests on who have attempted to end their own lives. I have to use the correct terminology these days. All of them without fail, have said, thank God they didn't succeed. The moment they started that, whatever they were taking pills or whatever, and suddenly this light bulb went off and I thought, this is a terrible mistake. Did you feel like that, or how did you feel fighting a policeman?
Yeah, I think once I was off the floor and I'd calmed down, then I was thankful that the police were there. But that's why that's why the suicide rates are so different from men to female. Is because that blokes being blokes go for the end goal, and we go for hanging, jumping off a bridge, car crash. There's no turning away from it. Whereas females tend to go for tablets. Yeah, females tend to go for tablets. So when they've taken them,
can I underline this point? Because a lot of people don't discuss it because it doesn't go with the agenda. Well, bullshit to that. The fact is that when men decide to end their own lives, and this has been proved time and time again, they do it in a very dramatic but very final way, as Stu, our very special guest today, has just outlined. Now, women tend to take pills or something like that. Not always. I'm not doing a huge generalization, but it's a big cry for help. But a guy, when he does it, it's not a cry for help. It's the end. You jump in front of the train.
Yeah, he means
you're not going to come away with a sprained wrist. It's
done. Completely.
It's over. You jump off a bridge, you're dead. I mean, I'm sorry to be brutal, but that's it. And it's the real reason why, with Howard Jameson, I started this radio station. It was the suicide statistics in the UK of men. 80% are men, 20% are women.
Yeah, and that's why we've got the cycle that we're doing today, and that's why we've got you can see it. Where is it? The 84 on our chest.
Yeah, got that. What's that mean?
That's the 84 men that take their own life every week.
Wow.
Jeez.
And for every one that takes their own life, 20 attempt. So the number is just ridiculous.
84 a week?
Yeah, in the UK.
God damn.
So that's why we do it. And wow, getting a bit emotional now.
No, of course you are. Take your time.
Been 6 days. It's been 7 days of the four of us have gone through a fair bit of pain on the bike over the last 7 days, but no matter what pain we go through, there's blokes that are in even worse pain. Do you know what I mean? And
talcum powder won't sort out their problems.
No, and believe me, mate, talcum powder hasn't sorted out my problems. It's been a painful. I think we've done 820 miles so far in 7 days.
No way.
Yeah, so we've got 30 left to Bristol.
820 miles. Gee willikins. You are now, if people want to support you, Stu, I don't want you to go yet, if you're okay for time. I don't know how you are.
Yeah, I've got a question I want to ask as well.
But how do people get hold of you? How do people support you? How do people reach out?
All on social media. Just follow Pedal the Premiership.
Pedal the Premiership. Is it .com or .co?
Well, yeah, it's .co.uk is the website. But if you go on all the socials like Insta and Facebook and stuff, it's Pedal the Premiership. And we're working alongside a charity called Loose Heads, which are a charity based within the rugby community that want to put a mental health ambassador into every rugby club in the country, which is amazing. But we're all about awareness. So rather than throwing a tenner into the charity pot, just share our stories, share what we're doing this week and why we're doing it.
Do you know what, Stu? Do you know how long I've been trying? We've had, Howard and I have had meetings with the Premiership people, and you think you're getting somewhere. And I'm talking about football. You know, if you're paying people 150 grand a week, frankly, to support a small radio station, but support mental health, put in ambassadors, as you say, is peanuts to them. It's peanuts. It's nothing.
Yeah,
they are so difficult to work.
Just all comes down.
Really hard.
It all comes down to education, mate. Education, and the more people know about what the numbers represent and what you need to do to look after your own mental health, because physical health and mental health work exactly the same together. All of us know we need to get off the sofa and walk around the block. And we wake up in the morning. When you wake up in the morning, you got a bit of a runny nose and feeling a bit tight chested. You know you got a cold, so you sort it out. But when you wake up in the morning and the duvet weighs about 10 stone and you can't be bothered to get out of bed, why can't we tell someone that? Why can't we walk down the stairs and tell your missus that?
What amazes me,
Neil, just before your question, I'm so sorry. Yeah. I've done this week. I've done Talk TV and BBC Radio London, as well as our own radio station here. Let me ask you this, Stu, because this really it annoys me. Every single tabloid and every single broadsheet carried a huge story, which I've discussed on other radio stations and TV as well, that a 17-year-old kid came out as gay. And it was all over the place. All right. he's very brave for doing that. I'm not going to get into the whole. That's another subject. We can talk about it another time. But it's incredible that is huge, huge news, and yet the mental health and suicidal tendencies of men right throughout sport doesn't even make, wouldn't even get half a line next to the greyhound racing results.
That is my
It's
point.
not, and the trouble with that is, like, when sadly, who was it, a footballer was taken ill mentally, the broadsheet or the red top paper on the front page was 350 grand a week man, 350 grand a week footballer taken into hospital through mental illness. What's it got to do with the amount of money he earns? Do you know what I mean?
Because the way that they run, I'm so sorry, Neil. It's something that I'm so passionate about. I apologize. I'm talking over you, and I'm sorry.
Let me know.
I tell you why this bugs me, because the narrative is, well, they're richer than God, therefore everything must be great. In other words, money makes everything better. Yeah, you can be much more comfortable. You can have nicer holidays, live in a nicer. If you are mentally unwell, doesn't matter how rich you are, you're still going to be screwed. And that's the
it means nothing eventually.
No, exactly.
It's meaningless.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's just meaningless.
Yeah.
And this narrative, I just wish this narrative would change. That's why we're so passionate here on men's radio and women's radio as well, which we have as well, which was started a year before this. We're so passionate about it because we shouldn't be having to have these blooming conversations. It's like
I think the
pushing
guy
a
that
boulder
came
up a
out,
mountain.
I think the guy that came out during the week, and I do think that's incredibly brave, even though things are much better for gay people now. Yeah. But to me, the fact that someone's gay is no longer never was a big deal for me. I was old enough to understand what it was.
So what?
And I did a charity event last Saturday for some wonderful people for the Grace Deer Trust. And it's a wonderful gentleman called Graham Deer, and he tragically lost one of his daughters, Grace, to suicide. And I'd love to get him on here with his other daughter, Hope. But here's the thing, and I blogged about it afterwards because it really brought it home to me. And we know our technology is profoundly brilliant. We can broadcast information around the world in seconds. When I tell you what this is later, it'll blow your mind what it is. We know enough to blow ourselves into smithereens. And yet the elephant in the room, mental health awareness, has been put on the back burner. And I'm passionately asking, as passionately as you are, Russ, why? It's profoundly important. And every time I hear a story like this,
I can't be bothered. That's honestly, it's they can't be bothered. And of course, with the downturn in then you had COVID, which knocked everything for six. So people trying to get mental health help on the NHS. I'm not being rude about the NHS. They were magnificent for this. But you got mental health problems, you're gonna be at the back of a damn long queue. And that queue isn't going to go away for a long time.
It's about a year, I think, the queue.
Well, yeah, but a year might as well be 10 centuries. You need to be seen on the spot. How do you feel now on a day-to-day basis, Stu?
I just manage it well. I get low days, but then, like I just said, then you get physically low days. So I just make sure I exercise, make sure I sleep well, make sure that a big thing is just accepting the emotion you're in that day. So it's absolutely fine that you wake up and you feel sad that day. You just live that day with it. And it's like the other day that you get stressed and you're angry. You accept that anger and you get on with it. Do you know what I mean? There's no reason for any emotion that you have to push down into your belly and not show it.
It's so important. It's okay. There's somebody, I can't remember. I don't remember if it was a guest or I read it. Forgive me. My head I'm on painkillers. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. And it said, it's okay not to be okay. And it's true. You don't have to beat yourself up. Not every day's Christmas, you know?
No.
Christmas is also
that's the mantra of the Grace Deer Trust as well.
It's like it's okay to acknowledge, and this isn't being all airy-fairy Californian, which I'm not, but it's okay to say, do you know what? I'm not feeling so great today. Acknowledge it and don't beat yourself up about it. It's okay. Because tomorrow you'll feel better.
You either allow it or you resist it. And resisting it, as I think Jung said, what you resist persists. But the corollary is what you allow will eventually pass. And the more you're willing to allow and give it space, the quicker it can pass because you're giving it the space.
Why are you
Sorry, I'm getting some aggro from the cyclists over there.
Are you? Why is that? What
Yeah,
are they saying?
it's the posse that we've got with us today.
Oh, do you want to go over and say hello? Go and say hello. Come on.
Do you want to come and say hello?
Yeah,
I've got one man that wants to say hello to you.
Come on then, let's have him on.
So there's four of us that are in the team, and then some rugby players and stuff, and we've got the driver. There's John. Hi.
Hey, John.
Steve.
Hi.
Hey,
fellas.
Steve.
Hi. And there's Harry. That's the four of us that done the trip, and these are the linger-ons.
Well, the hangers-on, the Klingons.
Yeah.
The Klingons.
The group
Say glory. Can someone say glory?
No, sadly not. Groupie. Good job, guys.
Listen,
good job. Well done.
Yeah. Will you would you come back and talk to us in another time? I would love it if you'd come back.
Ask one
Oh, completely.
Oh,
yeah, of course.
Neil's got a question. Neil's got a question.
It's just the word you used in the early part of the interview.
Yeah.
Oh, hello.
Moving away.
It's fine. It's just the words you used at the start of the interview. You said you look back on the experience now and you look at it as if you're looking down on the experience, which is a bit of a sort of observer position. And that says to me, that smacks of a little bit of mindfulness for me, the witness, the observer. It does being detached and dispassionate and an observer of it help rather than being in it? Does it help you see the forest for the trees, that observer position?
I don't know, really. It's just something that's obviously came from the therapy that I've never really questioned it, whether I need to be first or third. It's always been like when I was marching towards that bridge, it was like a drone was following me. Do you know what I mean? It's something I've not really looked into, but I think it's very important that you reflect quite a lot. And I reflect quite a lot about the feelings I was having that day. And it all comes down to acceptance, mate, doesn't it? It all comes down to accept the fact that I was there for that day.
Because I had a bit of a mental health dip a couple of years ago, and through a lot of love of great friends and support from a good therapist. And I found that I was either in the situation, like associated into it, if you like, or I could step back and observe. And when I could observe, I could have compassion for the me over there, as it were. And it gave me the distance, so I could see the forest for the trees, and it allowed me that space, that acceptance, like you say, and that compassion. But you can only do that from a distance. For NLP fans, they call it disassociation, and it's the same sort of thing. And I think you hit on something really important there, maybe without realizing you did it, but that was quite profound what you said. So I wanted to just throw that out there.
Anyway,
thanks. I'll take that. I'll write that down.
Anytime.
All I could ask, if you could spread the word about Men's Radio Station. We're on Twitter at Men's Radio STN. At Men's Radio STN, I'd be ever so grateful. Please come back. We want to continue this conversation, but you've got
Yeah, definitely, I will do.
You got writing to do, man.
Gonna go jump on the bike and do the last 35 miles before me pint of Guinness.
Let us know how it all goes. Let us know how it all goes when you come back.
Come back.
Yeah, we'll do, definitely. Take care, guys.
For everything you've done.
Bye,
Bye,
glad
fella.
you're still here.
Bye.
Keep going,
Bye
my
now.
friend.
Bye.
Wow.
You know, if you had to say, right, what is this station all about? There you go.
There it is.
There you go. That guy and what he's doing and what happened encapsulate like everything that we set out. And I know we've broadened our remit a lot. We have. And the reasons we've broadened it is because I don't think, and I'd like your comments now, I don't think we can take unremitting, endless, sad story. Now, his story is uplifting. But if you just have endless sad stories, everyone's going to get fatigued from it. So I try and lighten it. Neil lightens it when Phil Dave was with us. We'd muck around more. And that's what it's about. And I like to lighten it as well because humor, because comedy, because music, because books, because movies is all good for your mental health. Yeah, unless it's Keith Lemon, which is bad for my mental health.
And I think no matter what situation we find ourselves in, there's always a way out, and it's not suicide, and but it's almost impossible to see when you've got suicidal ideation. Buckminster Fuller.
Neil, explain what that phrase actually means.
Which one?
Suicidal. What is it?
Suicidal ideation. It just means an intention to commit suicide.
Explain what it means.
Thoughts of suicide and considering how you're going to do it.
how long? Because you're more of an expert than I am, right? So how long, if you're having these thoughts? Let me try and put the question in a better way. If you're having these thoughts, right? How long before you should go and get some help?
I would get help immediately if you I would consider it's always okay to ask for help, and men are worse than doing it than women. Women are much more, sorry, a bit of a generalization here, and I don't mean this in a sexist way at all, but women are more likely to connect and talk about feelings. Men are less likely to do so, and I think it's a downfall. Reach out as soon as possible. There is help out there, and there are solutions. Some of the greatest inventors of the world, some of the great Patch Adams, Buckminster Fuller, these names that we know, they had their moments when they were considering ending it all, and they didn't, and they went on to do great things in the world and leave an incredible legacy. Some still are doing it, and there's always a way out. Suicide is a permanent solution to temporary problems.
It's a terrible thing, and I always say this: for the person who's ended their own life, it's over. I'm not going to go into afterlife; it's not my thing. All right, but it's them. It's over. For the family, it's only just starting. It's a lifetime of pain.
But when you're feeling that low, when you're feeling that depressed, and the nature of depression is it lies. Depression lies, and it would tell you that you're worthless. It would tell you that your family would be better off without you. It's a nasty little troll of a liar. Depression.
Do you know how many guests we've had, even when we had the studio, and they'd come in and I'd say, why are you doing this? It's quite different when you're sitting opposite somebody a few feet away, and they go, because I knew my family would be better off. And I said, but don't you realize how much hurt that would cause, how much they actually love you? Yeah. And it would be the worst thing. And they said, I didn't. Every single one said, I didn't at the time. The most important thing, gang, the most important thing is please talk. You're not alone. I promise you, no matter how shit your situation is, you think you're alone, you're not. And when you think my wife won't understand, or my partner, or whatever it might be, they will. They will.
You might be very, very surprised.
Talk it through, please.
Yeah. Please do. Don't, and as Stu said, don't push it down, because if you push it down, eventually the pot will fill and it will come up at the most difficult times. And conversations like this,
metaphors, Longy. I love your little metaphors.
And conversations like this, as we spread this knowledge of tools of mental health awareness and how to maintain it, how to nurture it, how to have fun within it, it just helps. It's sometimes helpful to reflect every day, talk your day through. I do that with a friend from time to time. That went well today, little wins, blah, 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 things I appreciate.
What's a little win for you? This is important.
The next day well.
Here's the thing. I recalibrated my life some years ago. Chantal's just in hair and makeup at the moment and having her normal morning magnum of Moet.
Chantal today. Excellent.
It is, Chantal. Easy, fella. Easy, boy.
What?
Nothing. I
didn't mean it that way. I'm just being enthusiastic.
Yes, you did. Just because she's hot. Azadon Brown from New York State says this, and this is really interesting. I've never seen this before. Would you like to read it out, Neil? Because this is right up.
Yes, I have heard of this. Have you considered asking for an accountability partner? It's great to have someone which you can lean upon during good times and bad. Looking at my friend who's sitting opposite me, because she's been exactly that morning. Shout out, Liz. While therapists serve one role, an accountability partner can serve as someone to you can reach out to, have a tea, a walk, etc.
Are they not called friends? Right. Is that not called having a good friend?
It can be, but accountability just means if you say you're going to do something, they make sure you did it. They check in with you. I think the only problem with the word accountability is
like a for what? If you say you're going to do. If you say you're going to do
so, let's say I need to get up and exercise and I need to sleep better, and then that person will check in with me and make sure I'm doing that, literally holding me to account, but in a good way. The only problem is with accountability, it's generally in our society used like the word responsibility when it's a heavy word. He's going to be held accountable. He's going to be held to account. It's a bit like brought to justice. And it isn't that way. That's a kind of a legal way or fear-based way. But in a love-based way, it's a great thing to do.
It's interesting. Look at this. Now, Chrissy, talk about, this is why this, Chantal won't be a second. This is why we have the greatest, I know every radio show does that, but no other radio show has the in-depth interaction we have with our gang. Look at this. This is from Spain. Chrissy Richards, who has been fantastically supportive of us. I must have a tough constitution. When my first husband left me, I took loads of paracetamol. Luckily, it didn't kill me and didn't affect me. Yeah, I've got to say my paracetamol aren't doing much good at the moment. I didn't tell anyone, and they never found out. Chrissy,
Wow.
bless you for sharing. Jesus, wowza. Jeez, I think it's time. There's so many comments, and we're going to come on.
Can I just read this one from Mary quickly?
Of course you can. This is, by the way, Mary G. Williams is in Kentucky, in case you're wondering.
Hey,
Yeah, she's
big
in
up Kentucky.
Yeah.
I take it you mean the American state, not the fried chicken.
She could be working behind the counter. I don't know.
Pain and guilt, often to those left behind, going over and over in your mind what you could have done, what signs you missed, what you didn't do, what you should have done. And this is exactly how I felt with my mum. I went into the shoulda, woulda, couldas, and totally ignoring the fact that I was burnt out. There was no help, and again blaming myself, and that doesn't help either. It
helps nothing. Helps nothing. Speaking of people who help,
Chantal.
There she is.
Hello, guys. How are you?
We are well. Great. Just
Good.
great. No, I'm lying. I'm lying.
Oh,
No, I do
you
need you
look
to
rather
ask me what
wounded.
this is before the end of the show.
What is it? No, come on.
No,
tell us
I want to know what that is right now, because
Yeah,
when
so
you
do I.
mentioned it, I
Okay.
thought,
So
I need to know.
my friend came round the other day, Emily, and she said, I've got this thing called Sensate, okay? And what it is, you download an app, all right? And you put it on your breastbone, this thing here, okay? And you
you
put
need to
earphones
describe
in.
what it is, Neil, for those that can't see us. Just
Yeah.
Oh, yes,
On
good
Deluxe
point. For those
Radio.
listening on Deluxe Radio, you're right. It looks like a kind of large stone on a lanyard,
Yes,
okay?
it does. Yes.
But it's
Okay.
actually made of plastic. And you put it round your neck, download an
Yeah.
app called Sensate, put it on your breastbone, all right?
Yeah.
And then you can put a blindfold on if that's your bag, and you put some headphones in, and you listen to this kind of any music you want, really, kind of
Right.
new agey
Motley-
music,
Motley
which I don't
Crue.
personally like because that sounds like someone's peeing in a biscuit tin. Bing, 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 bing. But maybe you sort of university or profound music or whatever, right? And
Yep.
what it does, it
Van
vibrates,
Halen.
and if you want to, but it vibrates and it tones your vagal nerve, which is the
Your
home
what
of the
nerve?
parasympathetic nervous system,
Whoa,
which is the
It tones your what nerve?
vagal.
The
Bagel.
Vegas.
Sounds like a bagel
Yeah,
with
vagus
a V.
nerve.
Okay.
No. Tones your vagus. Is it vagal or Vegas? Anyway,
I
that
think
I've
it's
got a
nerve.
Vegas,
bagel
but I
nerve
could
because
be
I
wrong.
like them.
But anyway, that one, the vagus or vagal nerve, and that is the home of the relaxation response, the parasympathetic nervous system. And people are having amazing experiences with this. It's a great mental health tool.
Really? Well, that sounds
I've never
terrific.
heard of it. How fantastic.
No,
Because
I've
you
never heard
get
of
the
it.
sounds, and you get the brainwave changes, and you
Uh-huh.
get the vibration, which clears
Right.
this nerve and puts you in the relaxation response rather than the stress response.
Well,
Massive mental health tool.
and I'm going to tell you what I do. I attach this to my breastbone, and I find that it's sympathetic. It relaxes me, and I feel so much better.
Now,
For those
Russ,
of
you have
listening on
you
Deluxe
have to tell
Radio,
the
we're
listeners
holding up a
what
bottle
that
of
is.
Scotch whiskey.
It's a bottle of Glenfarclas 15, which is, I have to say, it's really.
That's
really
a
nice.
bloody nice whiskey. You're a bit of a
So
connoisseur there, Mr. Kane.
Well, it's all thanks to George Mickey at the Soho Whiskey Club. I knew nothing about it, and he's given me such a wonderful education. And when I'm feeling better, I can't do this at the moment, we will go, and Chantal, as she knows, is always, they've got 600 open bottles of whiskey.
Good God.
Yeah, 600. And George every month does a tally, and they have to do the tally because we've become very good friends. And it's just a little place above a shop, in case you think it's something like the RAC Club in Pall Mall. But it's such a great gang there. Such a great
Yeah, I'll drink you all under the table.
Yes.
It was a joke. It was a joke.
Phil Dave tried that. And I said, do you realize how obnoxious you were during that show? Was I? I don't. Anyway, so you have to measure every bottle. You measure it with a wooden stick and then sometimes put it into like a pipette and it all goes on a spreadsheet because, otherwise, it's
Wow.
it is a prescription. Yeah, it's on the NHS.
Yeah.
Right. Film and television.
Okay, so well, picking up on various conversations. Oh, by the way, there's something for Mary G. Williams in Kentucky, because I am going to be talking about a program that was made in Kentucky. So
Okey-dokey.
stand by for that in a second. Picking up on alcohol, of course, there are good amounts of alcohol and there are really not so good amounts of alcohol.
Precisely.
That sometimes sort of, alcoholism manifests itself in a bad way because of poor mental health. And so that's why I'm going to start with that and talk about the new Will Young documentary on Channel 4, which is called Will Young, Losing My Twin Rupert. Will Young is now 42. He won Pop Idol in 20 years ago.
Was it that long ago?
20 years ago, yeah.
Wow.
Very nice. He was a very nice young lad at the time. He's still an incredibly nice man in his early 40s.
Everybody says he's a sweet guy. Everyone who's ever met him says he's a very sweet guy.
Yeah,
Incredibly
yeah,
nice.
I could have a beer with him quite easily.
Yeah,
That was the
and
wrong thing to say,
incredibly
sorry.
articulate. Yeah, no, but very, very articulate. And actually, the two documentaries I'm going to start with are sort of sympathetic and good to mention at the same time, because one comes from a bright young man, Will Young, who massively well educated, great degree, great career in the music industry, but actually became the carer to his brother, who had been from the age of 18 had been an alcoholic.
Oh,
and
gosh.
mental illness.
Wow.
And in the last few years, in fact, he had lived with Will, and Will had become his full-time carer. Will was having to sort of, go out and get him booze every day, would literally clean him, would, mop up the sick, would mop up the urine. Absolutely tragic. And sadly, it ended with his brother's suicide last year. But the documentary is brilliant. Will Young talks so well about his brother's issues. He does talk about grief, and occasionally you and I, Russ, have spoken about grief in the past, because it's one of my things is talking about grief, because I think it really helps.
Yes.
But actually he talks with his parents about where his brother went wrong, and they start out by saying, well, what was the moment where the light switch went off and his life changed? Both boys were brought up identically. They went to the same school, they had the same upbringing and the same parents, and they were going through all the family photographs trying to pin down the moment where something may have happened that sort of flipped his switch. And of course, one will never really know, except that Will does talk about the fact that he felt that there was abuse of some form when they went away to boarding school at the age of 9, which I'm not a great fan of. I was at boarding school, but I just think that it's too young an age of sort of 8 or 9 to send.
I was sent away at 9. I was at boarding school for 9. I've been away from home before, and I was sent away at 9, and it was brutal.
Too young.
And I didn't come back till I was 18.
Yeah.
But it didn't have to make me tough.
Well, it does
self-sufficient.
For people who've got broad shoulders, I think it can bring out the best in you, and it can make you social in a way that you might not be social and self-reliant, and all. There are good things about it, but some people just don't cope with it well.
No, it's sink or swim. We could do a whole show about it, because it's sink or swim. Anyway, I didn't want to take it away from Will Young. Sorry, I apologize. No,
not at all. But it's really worth watching. It's on Channel 4. It came out this week. It's had really good reviews because he talks so well. It's not maudlin. He goes to, he talks about different therapies with different people. He goes to visit Clouds, which is a therapy centre, well-known therapy centre in Wiltshire, very close to where I grew up and went to school. And it's a really fascinating documentary and definitely worth watching. Don't feel as though it's a downer. It's the subject matter is sad, but Will Young is such a delight that it carries you straight through.
You see, this is something which goes to the heart of something I believe very, very, very strongly in. This is a genuine, horrible, real, gritty, bloody awful situation. That someone that you love, your brother, becomes an alcoholic and then dies. So you're dealing with having to cope with him and look after him, and then you're dealing with the grief. And that's why it makes me so furious with these so-called, inverted commas, celebrities, who I prefer to call them non-entities, and have their PR department and the tabloids pushing some bullshit agenda about some non-existent problem. It's
Yeah.
awful. So I salute somebody like Will Young because it gives hope and insight that it can happen to anybody.
Absolutely.
It's so
And
important.
yeah. And similarly, BBC has just done a documentary this week with Joe Wicks. Joe Wicks, really, it passed me by, but I know the phenomena that is Joe Wicks.
Yeah.
I was doing my own online Keep Fit class during lockdown, and I'm still doing it. But Joe Wicks, his videos have been seen 100 million times on YouTube, and he was the Keep Fit guru, and brought out lots and lots of books about keeping fit and health. And what he's found is that a lot of people are now coming to him for advice about mental health.
Really?
He actually is finding it quite overwhelming, but because he was stimulating everybody's good mental health during lockdown through exercise, which, is really important, that he now finds it quite overwhelming that people are coming onto his social media every day saying, please give me a shout out, please talk to me, this is my story. And he's getting up in the middle of the night sometimes to answer these. And he says in it, I can't be the savior of everybody. But it's a wonderful story because, in fact, you find out that he grew up in a home where his mother suffered from mental ill health, and his father was an alcoholic. His grandfather was an alcoholic. His great-grandfather was an alcoholic. So from a completely different standpoint, different guy, mid-30s, very underprivileged background, but has his own story to tell, which is really worth watching. And it's a 1-hour special on the BBC called Joe Wicks Facing My Childhood.
Something really interesting you said there. He feels the sort of responsibility for rescuing everyone, and that is an innocent mistake. Yeah. It just doesn't work. I think it's well intended, but you can't, because I've been a bit of a rescuer in my time, and it really doesn't work. You've really got to kind of find your own way and then be a beacon for other people.
I think
in my
what you've
opinion,
got to be
with
is
support.
I think you've got to be a signposter. I made it very clear from day one when we kicked this off a few years back. I'm not an expert. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a counselor. I'm not trained. I'm just a bloke. All right. Don't look to me for, if it's within my own personal experience, I can talk about that. But I never prescribe. It would be wrong. It's morally wrong. It's intellectually wrong. It's wrong on every level. I will say to people, look, we know these counselors, or I know this person, that can help. But I will never, ever give advice like I'm some medical expert, because I think that's shocking. And I think that's something that the media do, which I'm very down on. Because it's reading it off the back of a packet of cornflakes does not make you an expert.
Yeah.
And and so people send me loads of private messages, and they're lovely. And I'm shocked with some of them, and I always try to respond, but I always make it very clear, look, don't look to me I will always help you emotionally, but if I can, but I'm not a doctor, I'm not a psychiatrist, I'm not a counselor, I'm not a therapist, just a bloke with a microphone doing his best. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Well,
how I feel.
That's enormously helpful.
But I do understand why Joe Wicks would be, and so suddenly he feels responsible. And the fact of the matter is, it's not his job.
Yeah.
But then you look around and you think, and if he thinks anyway, like I do, well, wait a minute, you can't just let these people drown. What am I supposed to do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the more conversations like this that we have, the more we make it okay to talk about, the more ideas will spring up, the more groups, the more things like this, the more support groups will spring up. It will just happen organically. It will happen organically. One person can't save the world. That's never been the case. But we can all certainly contribute and do what we can, 100%.
Look at this. This is interesting, Chantal, spurred on by what you said. I went to boarding school age 10. I was allowed home at weekends. Oh, you lucky sausage, I wasn't. I made great friends, but hated being restricted and cooped up. I just thought, well, I'm here. I'm not going to let myself down. I'm not going to let my mom and dad down. I never told them anything that was going on, ever.
Yeah.
Ever.
Well, that's exactly what Will Young says, that he and his brother didn't tell their parents anything about what was going on at school.
No. It was, it was a long time ago. Things are completely different now. But when I went, it was very brutal, and I realized it was either eat lunch or be lunch, and I wasn't going to be lunch.
Yeah, there is a There's a brilliant piece in the Joe Wicks documentary where they talk about a junior school where they are now telling children about mental unwellness and talking about their parents and also about how they should deal with feeling sad. And it's really, really what this innovation that they've brought in, I think is absolutely excellent. I mean, I was talking to somebody only yesterday who was telling me of a 10-year-old girl who's just been admitted to hospital with anorexia at the age of 10.
Come on, no.
And I just thought this is dreadful.
Baby.
And actually, if we can allow children to understand what the issues are and what to look out for, then they become adults, and then they will become better and healthier adults because of it.
Chantal, you know, you got kids, I got kids, so does Neil. When we were kids, we had a childhood. You know, we'd do things that kids did. You know, ride my bike, make model airplanes, you know, bugger around in the garden, do all the stupid things that you do when you're a kid.
Play knockdown ginger, steal hubcaps.
Climb a tree. All the
I did lots of tree climbing and lots of driving around on tractors and climbing in hay barns.
Well, hey, sorry, I overexcited there for a minute. I thought I was in a Jilly Cooper novel. And I did a TV show a million years ago with her. I was so thrilled to meet her. I didn't know what to say. Hello, Miss Cooper. I get very easily flustered. But there's this kid. She's 10 years old. It's a baby, right? Let's not kid ourselves. It's a baby. She's got bloody anorexia. I just worry with all the pressure, and it comes from social media, that I want children to have a proper childhood, but now they're just fixed to a screen. You know, it's incredible. It's sad. It's just sad.
There's a song by Passenger called "Scare Away the Dark," and it's about exactly this.
Really?
Yeah, worth YouTubing it and listen to the lyrics. Passenger, "Scare Away the Dark." My friend called it the wake-up anthem of the new generation.
I remember the band, but I don't think I know the track, but I'll look it up.
Scare Away the Dark.
Speaking of tracks, you two, I will be sending you something this afternoon that we've just made.
Yes.
You're either going to love it or hate it. But I was in the bathroom the other day, and you know, you have random thoughts, right? Just suddenly things pop into your head, and I write them down. I thought, that's quite a funny idea. And then I wrote the lyrics. I changed the lyrics of a song. And then I phoned up a brilliant female impressionist. And I said, I've got this idea. What do you think? She said, oh, I'm game for that. So the whole thing took me 10 minutes to write because, as you know, I write very quickly. I sent it over. She said, oh, I love this. And she's made the video. It's called, are you ready?
Yeah.
I Amber Heard It Through the Grapevine. And it tells the story of the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial using the backing track of Marvin Gaye's, except it's a karaoke thing, so there's no copyright. So it's a general for free to download karaoke track. So it's got different lyrics. So I'm going to send it to you to see if you enjoy it. And then
you should do one for the Wagathon as well, which I'm slightly
thrilled.
obsessed with.
You mean the Scouse Trap?
I do mean the Scouse Trap. There's, in fact, for those who want to know more, there is a slightly dubious 10-part series podcast on the BBC, presented by some rather nauseating girls who are driving me slightly mad. But it is fascinating in terms of the granular detail they're going into on a daily basis about what's happening.
I'm thrilled by this. Let me ask you something, Chantal, and this is a very serious question. It's not one of my jokes. Okay. We've got the Wagatha Christie bullshit going on in the High Court, which is cost £3 million so far. That's £1.5 million per
such a waste of time.
It's insane. God only knows what the Heard Depp trial has cost, but it's millions. You know how expensive lawyers are. You've lived in America. I've lived in America. It's eye-watering, right? And yet it gains such attention. Is it the modern Colosseum? Is it? My thinking is we're not interested in what really happens with two people we're never going to meet. We're never going to meet Johnny Depp. Actually, I might. But we're never going to meet Amber Heard. We're not going to meet there's a reason why. But our fascination, is it because we think, hooray, our lives are shit, but their lives are even worse? Or is it because we're bored and it's just entertain? I mean, what is it, do you think?
Well, I think we like watching winners and losers. And I think we like that sort of competition, and we want to see who wins. That's why so many people watch these programs like Border Patrol and Border Force, because they want to see the drug runners caught at the border. They want to see people that right beats wrong. And I think that's absolutely human. And I think everybody wants to see Rebecca Vardy being made to look like the complete turnip she is. So anyway, we'll see what happens.
I feel the husbands, don't you think the husbands were sitting there going, oh God, really?
I know.
I think this must be them sitting in court every day going, I just don't want to be here.
Get me out of here.
I want to be at home watching Cash in the Attic. Please, God, make this end. It's very interesting. Anyway, what else has come across your
so I found a great thriller that actually came out just at the beginning of lockdown. It's a movie with Helen Mirren, who I love, and I interviewed just before I left Hollywood, and she was an absolutely delightful woman.
Is she as nice as we hope she is?
Yeah, no, she's slightly scatty. She was a little bit more scatty than I had imagined, because she's always so sort of perfectly presented. Yeah. And she was sort of more girly than I imagined, because she always plays rather sort of severe roles. But she was absolutely delightful. And we had half a day together filming some stuff in Los Angeles. Anyway, she appears in a film with Ian McKellen, who is a crook. He's a con man.
Oh, have you not seen this before? This is a great film. I love that film.
Yeah, but it's just appeared on Netflix.
The Good Liar.
It's called The Good Liar.
I saw it in the cinema. Brilliant.
Love it.
There we are. Well, for anybody who's got Netflix,
well done. It's marvelous.
Didn't see it in the cinema, it's worth watching. You know, it's very playful. It's a bit silly in places. It's a bit unbelievable in places. The whole premise of Helen Mirren being this sort of patsy of a widowed woman in her sort of late 60s, 70s, who's a complete sop and very wet. And you think, hang on a second, I'm sure it's not going to be like that all the way through the movie, because there's no way Helen Mirren would have taken a role that was so unchallenging in a way. So you know that there's going to be a massive turnaround and a massive twist somewhere along the storyline, and indeed there is. So I'm just going to say, if you've got 100 minutes or 101 minutes or whatever it is, and you just want to put your feet up over the weekend and watch Netflix, The Good Liar is definitely worth watching.
It's great.
Brilliant.
Ian McKellen, Serena, Ian McKellen is just a wonderful. He is every bit as good as people think.
Yeah, and he's a really filthy con man, and it's terrific. But that takes me straight in to actually something I found on Apple TV. I know not everybody has got it, but if you can find it on Apple TV or one of the other providers, it's worth watching. And it's sort of this week's version, if you like, of yet another story of somebody, a real life documentary story of somebody who's behaved incredibly badly. And the show is called The Great Con, spelled C-O-N-N, and it comes from Kentucky. Kentucky is beautiful. It's looks like a wonderful state. It's the big coal mining state in America. So there's quite a lot of deprivation there. There are a lot of accidents that happen there because people are working in the coal mines and the associated industries. Along comes a lawyer called Eric Con, and he becomes the third wealthiest lawyer in America by getting Social Security payments for injured people. Now, in actual fact, the whole thing is a con, and he's got a judge in his pocket, and he defrauds. I'm not going to tell you the whole story, but basically he defrauds $500 million from the social services budget in America. So it's a slightly blousy four-parter. It's 1 hours. It's a little bit long and blousy in the middle, but the story is utterly fascinating because this guy's a complete lunatic. He drives around in Rolls Royces, and I mean, he's basically got the whole town in his pocket. And then one really canny journalist from the Wall Street Journal gets a wind of something smelly, and suddenly, from going to talking about the budget in Washington, he's doing this big investigation piece, and there are death threats, and there are attempted suicides, and there are real suicides. I mean, it's a crazy story, but it's worth watching. If you like that sort of thing, it's pretty darn good, and it's called The Great Con.
There
Yeah,
are
I'll
some
grab a bit of that.
there are some fantastic documentaries that you sit there going, this can't be real, but they're
I know.
completely real. It's like the people who is the one about the books in the Mormons. Forgive me, I
Oh,
really
yes.
screwed that up. I can't remember the title, but you think, well,
Yeah.
how bloody boring is that? And you sit there gripped,
Yeah.
gripped
We
about.
talked about that probably a couple of years ago.
Yeah,
when
we
that
did.
came out.
I mean, if you can find it.
Yes, I remember
Just
seeing a bit of
terrific.
that. And
The guy in
they
Salt
were
Lake
killing
City
each other
who
over it, weren't they?
pretended he'd found the book.
The rarest of the books.
And Our Father, which you talked about before, Chantal, man, that's just incredible.
Yes, that was crazy about the mad doctor who was impregnating lots of people.
I know.
So that was pretty mad. But very briefly, I tell you what else is back is DNA Family Secrets with Stacey Dooley on BBC
because we haven't
Two.
seen her for 37 seconds.
Oh, at least 30 seconds. We haven't
That's
seen
all
God, I
I've
love
missed
Stacey Dooley.
I've missed her. We don't see enough of her.
Well, there's
Bless
more
her.
and more
Why
and
not?
more.
Why
So if
not?
you haven't seen enough on BBC One or
Yeah.
BBC Three, that she's
Yeah.
now on BBC Two as well.
And
The
on
second
adverts.
series-
So if you get off the BBC, she's still doing her hair shampoos and everything.
Oh,
so,
that's true. She's doing her adverts as well.
of course.
Yeah,
So you can
she's-
see her wherever you go. In fact, she's in my
she's
kitchen now.
ubiquitous.
Stacey, get going down. Get the lunch.
Anyway, DNA Family Secrets gets better and better and better because, of course, everybody is now looking up their own DNA, which is great. Our family's just done it, so I'm
Oh,
desperately
really?
interested in what's going to come out of that. But there are some lovely stories. In fact, the first story talks about that it's illegal in France to get your DNA done, and you can be fined up to €4,000 if
Wow.
you go and get your DNA checked. Isn't
Why?
that fascinating?
Because they're all related to Sasha Distel. That's everybody.
maybe
Everyone
but
is related to
what
Sasha
do you think?
Distel.
And why does anybody care if somebody else does it? I really
Because
didn't
they're
get the.
French. That's all we need to know. They're French. Who cares? That's it.
Well, anyway, there are some wonderful stories. There are 2 episodes on the BBC iPlayer already. Lovely episode that I watched last night.
What's the deal
about-
with it? They look it up and is it like Who Do You Think You Are? I've never seen
Well,
it.
they give them their DNA and then they say, find my relatives. And in this particular episode, in episode 2, there's a lovely bloke called Jackie who knows that he is Jewish.
Yeah.
But all he desperately wants to know was whether his father was a German Jew or whether his father was a Nazi. And it has haunted him
Oh my God.
his whole life. His
There's
whole life.
no difference.
haunted by this.
God damn.
I'm not going to spoil that one. It's a great story. It's a ripping yarn. So DNA Family Secrets
Jeez.
with Stacey Dooley on BBC Two and the
Brilliant.
iPlayer.
And I don't know what this is. It says, "May I quickly plug the charity gig?" Right? I don't know what that is. So you can put up a message.
That's me.
Oh, that's you, you fool.
That's me, you big sausage.
Well, it just says men's radio station. You could have just spoken.
Well,
Go
I,
ahead.
yeah, but I don't want to be rude. It's Chantal's bit, but
It is Chantal's bit, but she is the most generous-hearted person you'll
I'm
ever
over.
meet, and the greatest hostess, may I say?
you remember Lynette
Never
Pryke,
go
the
hungry,
neighbour
Chantal.
of the year, Russ?
What? Neighbour of the year?
Lynette Pryke, the neighbour
Oh,
of
yeah,
the year.
yes, you're Lynette and Press, the neighbour of the year, yeah. Go on.
Who did and is still doing the most amazing work since lockdown. I've wanted to do a fundraiser for her. And we're doing it on Sunday. It's online, which can be an awful lot of fun. I've got a team of DJs in the very room that you're going to see. It's for the Alford Hub, raising money for this incredibly, surprisingly deprived community up in Lancashire. We're doing it from 3 on the Mixcloud link that you see there, Mixcloud Live Longy. And we're going to storm it and raise as much money for her as we possibly can. So if anyone listening would like to come along, the link is on the screen. Come along, pour yourself a glass of something and enjoy an online party, because I tell you what, it is a fundraiser, but it is a party as well. And we're going to
That's
storm it.
cool. Isn't that
Sounds
cool?
great.
And we're going to have the branding of Men's Radio on there as well, Russ, as
Oh,
well.
yes, I forgot that. Yes, well done. Thank you very much. Chantal, marvellous. Lovely to see you, as
Great to see you.
always. Please don't invite me around, because you'd have to cut all the food up. I can't tell you how inconvenient it is.
Oh,
No, it is beginning
Soup.
to drive me.
we can have soup.
Beginning to drive me. But
Oh,
I,
no.
I soup like an idiot because I got no dexterous.
No
Anyway,
soup
there
in a
we go.
straw.
I like it, Eugenia. That's why you get the big bucks. We're out of time, everybody. I
Thank you,
hope you've
Chantal.
I hope you've enjoyed it this week. Chantal, as always, thank you so much. Longy, always a
Very good.
pleasure, never a chore. Thank you to all the gang. Thank you to everyone in America. Thank you to everyone in Spain and France and Germany and
Happy
everywhere where you're
weekend.
listening. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.